Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this session. My name is Nalinee Soobramoney. I joined the IOPTA team in May of last year. Prior to that, I worked with the Department of Higher Education and the toolmaking section dealing with their apprentices. I hope you're all well and keeping safe and adhering to the COVID protocol as per the screen. With that said, let's get into it. So, our discussion today is around taking on apprentices. Apprentices can be quite a dream or quite the nightmare to have. So very quickly, just a quick definition, what is the apprentice? This is a person who's learning a trade from a skilled employer or mentor, having agreed to work for a fixed period of time, generally at lower wages, not so much low, generally at lower wages. This is also our opportunity as the employer to shape our industry and to create an ethos that allows us to showcase the excellence with which our knowledge and experience comes with. This is a group of young people in today's environment. Young people come with a very different mindset. They are a totally different generation from what we are. And often what seems like arrogance, often what seems like a demanding attitude, just rudeness in general, is their normal, which is not our normal. And in that, we create a tense atmosphere that does not augur well for learning and teaching to take place. So the apprentice of the 21st century comes with its own challenges, and as the experts in the industry, we are given the opportunity to share our knowledge and values, but create an apprentice of the 21st century that allows coming to take off in excellence, but also create an apprentice that appreciates the opportunities that he or she has been given. And it's important that as industry players, we consider that their attitude is not always a rudeness, it's just their point of reference, their frame of reference. Okay, what are the advantages of taking on an apprentice? Now on the slide, there's a little diagram, and I'm just going to go through it very quickly. So we get to increase the diversity. We get to increase different age groups, different genders, different races, and really allow our rainbow nation to shine through in our industry. We get to control the ethos of the business. So as an employer, we get to employ the best candidate or the best fit for our business. We get to choose who fits into our space in the best way possible. We can improve productivity because now we have an extra set of hands or two that can allow us to create more works for ourselves. We create a talent pipeline. This means that we are able to see who has the most talent, who's the most teachable, I want to say in inverted commas, and who would be the best fit. So when the space allows, we are able to have someone on hand that can fill our space. We reduce the training and recruitment costs. That means that because we have a talent pipeline, we already have a trained person on hand should we need and should a space become available. And I think the best part of having an apprentice, or the advantage of taking on an apprentice, is that we get to contribute and shape what our industry looks like going forward. Because now the onus is on us to create apprentices that would allow the future of plumbing to be highlighted. we get excellence in the industry. Okay, so apprenticeship routes. Currently, we have two apprenticeship routes. One is the ARPL, which is the Artisan Recognition of Prior Learning route. Then we have the dual system route, which is currently via the DSPP or, excuse me, the Centers of Specialization route. If we're talking about the Artisan Recognition of Prior Learning, this is for artisans or people that are already in the system that have physical experience and knowledge without a formal qualification. So this route allows that person who's already in the system be recognized formally with a registered qualification based on the unit standards. The process is slightly different to the dual system. The process is this person is already in the system, generally is already employed by an employer. We would then go through an assessment program at an assessment center where the gaps are identified, and through the identification of the gaps, these apprentices or these individuals will go through gap training, and they will go through the process of a trade test. This is based on the old legacy trade, and it is on an NQF level 3. It requires some time away from the work environment so that this person may go through and do the gap training physically at an assessment center. When all is completed, this person will have qualified with the Red Seal. Okay, moving along. In terms of the dual system approach has been tried and tested overseas, and it was thought that it would be a good way to revolutionize and innovate in our plumbing industry. And going forward, this would be the way of teaching and learning in the system. It is the new way. I say new in inverted commas because it really is not that new. We've known this for a while. It is a partnership between a company or an employer and a training facility to produce a qualified artisan. Currently, we have two routes in terms of the dual system. One is the dual system pilot project called the DSPP, and I think a fair amount of employers are aware of this, as well as the Centers of Specialization, which is the COS. DSPP and the dual system was started way back, or the thinking behind it was started possibly around 2010, where there was a white paper and an identification that South Africa has a shortage of critical skills, of which artisanship was one of them. And in a bid to increase this level and the numbers of artisans in South Africa, the Department of Higher Education took on the task of what is called the Artisan of the 21st Century project, this being to incapacitate 30,000 artisans per year until 2030. The DSPP, or the Dual System Pilot Project, was started in 2016, and it started with only 2 trades, and pilot being the introduction or the inauguration of this to test and see how it could go. The idea behind it is that if it worked well, it would be umbrellaed or mushroomed out into the Centers of Specialization. So the DSPP started off with only 2 trades, and plumbing was privileged to be one of those trades, together with the electrician. The electricians have completed 2 sessions of the DSPP. Our plumbing apprentices, we first group of plumbing apprentices have completed, and we're proud to say that in the DSPP, we have had a success rate of, at this point, 25 apprentices out of a group of 39. There are a few that are still in the system that are doing their second attempts at the trade test. Now, the dual system works on a process that is slightly different to the ARPL. In this system, excuse me, the apprentice is has a 3-year program, and they rotate between college-based and practical-based activities at the college, and then workplace-based activities at the employer. This was piloted in 3 provinces, which is KZN, Gauteng, and Eastern Cape. Currently, we're running a second intake of plumbers that are currently in the system in the 3 provinces. This is slightly different in that these apprentices do not write the old legacy trade test. They attempt what is called the ISA, EISA, which is the External Integrated Summative Assessment, and this is an occupational trade, and it is on NQF level 4. CTO oversees the certification of these apprentices when they complete the ISA. Moving on, apologies. The COS. The COS, or the Centers of Specialization, is similar to the SPP. However, it is different in that it is broader, and let me just go back a second to the DSPP. In terms of the DSPP, there was a lead employer, which was IOPSA. IOPSA was responsible for recruiting the apprentices, for all of the logistics admin around the apprentices, and for ensuring that the apprentices gotten paid. So in other words, IOPSA got a grant from the Department of Higher Education and facilitated this with them. In the Centers of Specialization, it's slightly different. As the employer, you would be responsible, you would be responsible for the recruitment of these apprentices. They would be your employee. You would be responsible to go out and ascertain funding from a SETA for this apprentice. Now, IOPSA is there as what would be called the occupational team convener, or OTC, to facilitate a relationship between the SETAs, the Department of Higher Education, and the college, and the employer, to ensure that the system works, and that at the end of it, we have a qualified apprentice, and it is a win-win, because the funders, the SETA, Department of Higher Education, is happy that we've created more qualified, highly skilled individuals. And the industry, the employers are satisfied, because now we've had an input and a huge contribution to creating the kind of apprentice that the industry warrants. So in terms of the Centers of Specialization, we play a huge role as the contributors of a plumbing industry that is growing and becomes highly skilled labor. Sorry, my throat is a bit scratchy. In the Centers of Specialization model, IOPSA has pledged to provide the utmost support. We will ensure that when the funding windows are open, we will create a channel of communication that all employers are aware, and that we will ensure that our support is felt throughout the system. So as an employer, you will not be left in the dark, so to speak. Okay. Now, in terms of taking on apprentices and us being the role of the employer, as previously mentioned, as the employer, we are responsible, or you are responsible, to source funding from the relevant SETAs. OPSA will ensure that you are fully in the loop in terms of when the funding windows are open, what are the requirements, and provide support in terms of assisting you access that funding. You will be able to select these apprentices. That allows you and gives you great power in a sense that you are able to select apprentices that are a fit for your business. The whole employment process sits with you. You will interview and create a space for this apprentice to be employed in your business. In terms of imparting practical knowledge, as the employer, you will be responsible to provide on-the-job training in the most real work environment, where apprentices are on the job extracting this knowledge from you in a real-time, real work live experience. That is a huge privilege, but also a huge responsibility, because it's not just for your business and the apprentice, it also augurs well for the industry at large. As mentioned previously as well, I just want to highlight the generation gap. Having worked with apprentices and having worked in this space, it is common for employers to feel that these apprentices are unappreciative and uncaring in terms of the effort and the intensity and the integrity that it takes to impart these skills. I want to assure you, please, as you are doing a wonderful job, continue and understand that there is a generation gap between the generation that we're working with and ourselves. Our work ethics are slightly different, and this is our opportunity to teach those unspoken things that we have learned over the years and have life experience with to the new apprentices in terms of critical thinking, in terms of timekeeping, in terms of neatness, in terms of the softer skills of dealing with customers, because this is not per se in the curriculum. It's a knowledge base that as employers, as highly skilled plumbers, we have gained with years of life experience. So I just want to caution to be mindful of this generation gap, not think that they are being terribly rude all the time. It's just their point of reference. Understand that this apprentice is your employee. At the end of the day, you are responsible for the logistics and the admin. You are responsible for salaries, payment of salaries, attendance registers. You're responsible for all of the leave documentation and personal details of this apprentice, the discipline, contracting and the legal requirements. And most important is the capturing of information in terms of creating a portfolio of evidence in the form of a logbook. Communication is a key factor as well. I just want to touch on signing off the logbook. Logbooks play a key role. Without that key evidence of practical, real-time, real-life, workplace-based experience, this apprentice in the new occupational trade or system, like the COS, will not be allowed to enter the ISA. So it's important to impress upon the apprentice that as much as you are providing practical workplace-based experience, it is also their responsibility to ensure that these logbooks are signed. As the employer, you have a huge responsibility, you have a huge privilege to be able to dictate how the future of our plumbing industry looks, by imparting knowledge, skills, and values that you have into this new generation of plumbers that we are calling the artisans of the 21st century. Women in plumbing. Now, if you've noticed throughout the slides, I've included cartoon pictures of women. Women in the workplace is a huge elephant in the room that seems sometimes to be avoided. But the more it's avoided, the bigger this elephant gets. I want to commend all of the employers who've taken on female apprentices. That's a huge win for us ladies in this industry. Women in the workplace, on the slide it says, has to work twice as hard to prove themselves, are there to learn and do not require special treatment. That's very blasé, I know, and it's not meant to create any triggers for expecting special treatment, for expecting you to create special privileges for ladies in the industry. We want a space in the industry to be able to do the things that is our passion, which if you have lady plumbers, I'm hoping that they are as passionate about plumbing as I am and the other qualified lady plumbers in the industry. The reality is, men and women are biologically different. Is what it is. And as industry leaders in the plumbing industry, it is important that we take note of this and adapt certain situations or adapt certain scenarios to allow for this difference in our biological differences. So as women, we do not want special treatment. We're just asking that these things be taken into consideration. As a host employer, we do not want special treatment. We want to learn on the job as it is. And it's our responsibility as ladies to adapt as well to the situation at hand, because it's a conscious choice that we've made to be in this industry. I want to highlight that we are there to work. We are there to take in the experience as it should be given to us, and we will make the best of it. But at the same time, I think it's important that as human beings outside of the plumbing industry, that we take into consideration that there are other factors that come into play. Because we are of the opposite sex, there are human factors that come into play. As the employer, one of the roles and one of the responsibilities is at the very outset, when we have ladies on our site, address this at the very beginning and highlight what the expectations are for the work at hand and what is acceptable behavior and what is not acceptable behavior, both men and females in the space, so that everybody is aware of what is acceptable. We are there to learn as ladies in the workplace. We are there, and because there are very few women in the industry, we look to you for guidance, we look to you for advice, we look to you for mentorship. And we, as a girl myself, I ask you to please provide that. Bear in mind, no special treatment, just an acknowledgement of the differences in the genders. I encourage you as employers to take on female apprentices and show us the way. With that, I want to conclude my I don't know how we are for time. I would like to conclude my little chat. You're more than welcome to contact me. My email address is training@iopta.org for any further information that you feel I did not cover in this very quick presentation.
Is there anything you would like to add, Steve?
Yeah, morning everyone. Nalinee, thank you very much for that insight into the apprenticeships. And I think I would just like to reiterate, the support of you and the team, in terms of the amount of work that you do in terms of changing that mindset with regards to female plumbers or apprentices. And I think, for all those in the group, I think we just need to look at it for ourselves and say, somebody took a chance on us at one stage, and where we are today is because of that decision made. And I think we must look at it as an investment in our industry, as you said, Nalinee. So I think well done. And I would just like to encourage those that are in attendance today, if you don't have any of these apprentices, then reach out and just find out. With everything comes some challenges, I think, but the positiveness that comes out of it, and of those that I've spoken to that have apprentices, the benefits far outweigh the negatives. So well done, Nalinee, and Byron, thank you very much, and all those in attendance this morning. Thank you.